We want to get right to the news, and right now, the funeral for Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is underway in Moscow. Navalny died in a Russian penal colony on February 16th. His mother then spent 8 days trying to get authorities to release his body. It was finally granted after she made a video appeal to President Vladimir Putin. Now the family says the Kremlin is trying to block a public funeral, and some are worried the services will be disrupted. A heavy police presence can be seen outside the church and cemetery where Navalny will be buried. Joining us now from London is NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons. And Keir, even people who were laying flowers or trying to pay respects in the wake of Navalny's death were arrested. What's expected today?
Well, as we speak, Mika, the funeral is getting underway. Alexei Navalny's body has arrived at the church, according to his supporters. And what we're seeing there in Moscow are scenes that in the US would be considered ordinary, and in today's Russia are extraordinary. So organisers say that more than 1,000 people have arrived outside the church. Just think about the bravery of each one of those people. If they are arrested, that legal case can result in a fine, or it could be escalated, we estimate, to anything up to 15 years in jail. Each one of those risking that to stand and pay respects, last respects to Alexei Navalny. Also in the church, ambassadors arriving, including the US ambassador. We also have seen in the crowd that families of other jailed opposition leaders and Boris Nadezhdin, who is one of those who has said that he wants to stand against President Putin in the election in a few weeks' time, and has been, frankly, banned from standing. The Electoral Commission in Russia deciding that he is not eligible for various reasons. So all of this is happening in the context of President Putin standing for election, and of course is going to be elected in just a few weeks' time. Alexei Navalny's wife, Yulia, we don't know where she is. She obviously has been outside of Russia. She won't be there because she has refused to be silenced. She has been speaking out even this week, describing her husband's death as that he was killed by President Putin. So this funeral, this frankly extraordinary funeral, is underway right now. That there are reports that there is a lack of mobile coverage, that has been silenced, even as the people there refuse to be. But Alexei Navalny's team, Mika, are running a live broadcast with commentators from his team, live on air, showing pictures. There's a global stream to get the message out. And what a juxtaposition, what a contrast. Yesterday we saw President Putin with a federal address to the nation broadcast on huge screens in Moscow. Now we have this funeral today broadcast on a live stream around the world.
And trying to silence him right to the end, as you say, spotty. You can even see it in some of our images. The images are breaking up a little bit, difficult to see in some places. But I guess my question to you, Keir, is, as Mika pointed out, the very act of laying flowers at a memorial for Navalny got people arrested. It's hard to really gauge how much support he has, and by support for him, it also implies criticism of Vladimir Putin, because it is a crime, effectively, to do such a thing. What is your sense, covering Russia so closely for all these years, of the level of sympathy for Alexei Navalny and his cause within Russia?
Look, we've said it many times, really, right? There are many Russians who are sympathetic. There are also many Russians who support President Putin, not least because they think that President Putin hauled Russia out of the absolute chaos of the 1990s, and they still remember that, and they are still grateful for that, if you like. That's the reality of the politics in Russia. But let me answer your question a different way, if you like. How much of a threat does Alexei Navalny, or did Alexei Navalny pose? And I suppose you could say, does Alexei Navalny pose to the Kremlin in the Kremlin's own eyes? Well, Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, was asked today by journalists whether he now had anything to say to Alexei Navalny's family. And he says, he answers, I'm just going to look down and quote this: "The Kremlin doesn't have anything to say to Navalny's family on the day of his funeral." So when I interviewed President Putin, some years ago now, and it happens again and again whenever he's asked about Alexei Navalny, he doesn't even want to say his name. I think the danger for the Kremlin now, if you like, I mean, there's no question who's going to win the election in a few weeks' time, but the danger, I think, that the Kremlin itself will see is that you now have his widow, Yulia, travelling around the world, giving these speeches, taking up the mantle, if you like. And so the reason why they will be concerned with this funeral today is because they will be concerned, let's put it this way, that Alexei Navalny hasn't been turned into effectively a martyr.